Good evening. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can. It's all telling me it should be okay. And are you happy with the audio levels? Can you hear me enough for all that sort of gump? Edison, Notorious, good evening, gents. Good to see you again. Apologies if I keep... Evening, buddy. Apologies if I keep dabbing at my eye. I've got some sort of lump thing that's... So I'm just going to look really emotional for the entire stream. So yeah, there's that. Ray, good evening, buddy. Haven't seen you for a while. How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. So we're going to have a little bit of fun this stream. I kind of want to take a look at some of the news that we've had this week. I want to react to a couple of videos that are out there at the minute. Not going to watch them individually. I just want to look at them as a whole and try and counsel some common sense that I know most of us have, but it's always worth using. I don't know who, if anyone, lurks, so it's always useful to kind of say those things. Sean Solo, good evening, bud. How's things? Good to see you, my friend. It's the overly dramatic salute. I know that's not how we salute. I kind of feel bad that I've gone, build ships for the Royal Naval Officer, and then I start doing all this nonsense. But, yeah. It's good fun. But the interesting thing about all this, of course, is that the way the Navy salutes is all about the Queen at the time. She hated seeing mucky hands, and of course, I don't know if you're aware, but a lot of sailors back then, especially in the British Navy, were called Jolly Jack Tars because they would use tars as their method of waterproofing, and of course, working with that stuff would leave your hands filthy. So we always salute with the palm hidden. And there's some joke about the Queen not liking thumbs. I don't think that's true, but we also hide the thumb, so the thumb doesn't sit. I'm going to see if I can get this right. The thumb doesn't sit flat. You kind of cock it and hide it in behind, so it sits like that, basically. And then it goes over your right eye, tilted down, rest of the arm, this part of the arm straight, that part of the arm straight up, and it's quickest way up, quickest way down. None of this, nonsense that the RAF do. They kind of do this crazy sort of like boing and then down. Don't know why. Habits, not traditions, I guess. But yeah, common sense that has no place here, said as there isn't. Yeah, so want to look at some of that, and in between, I'm going to try my hand with building a ship and talking about warships in the real world, how they're designed, kind of a little bit about their interiors. And how that may influence something like Star Citizen or any other game in space. The crabs are indeed silly sausages. Allow me to translate for anyone who's not British. We call the RAF crab vats, or the crabs. So that's the RAF, the Royal Air Force. And silly sausages is just obviously code for silly person. Let's just go with that. But yeah, so hopefully the lack of a background isn't too putting out. I might just change that very quickly, just because I think it stops my kind of computer having to do more work than it needs to. But let's have a look. So I don't know if I've changed my background yet, but let's have a look. Let's go with... This will be the bit where I can't actually find what it is that I want and now spend ages fixing the stream. But I've done a couple of last minute changes for one reason or another. So it's all a little bit up in the air. I don't know what I'm doing. Pro stream this. See? Pro. Let's go with that. That works. We're back. Branded. That's what we like. Matthew, welcome. Yes, you did make it. Well done, dude. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, so without further mucking about, let's get into some streamy type stuff. What do you guys want to talk about first? Do we want to talk about Star Citizen news? Do we want to have a bash at building a ship? Do we want to look at some videos and how that might not be the best thing in the world to be talking about right now? Shock it. Do you know what? First of all, welcome to the stream, buddy. Good to have you. Secondly, yes, it is the short answer. The long answer is I don't know how you're going to do the turrets in Starfield because they're just not built like that. But I do love those classic lines, and we're going to have a good old bash at doing it, basically. I think lots of dorsal weapons would work really well on that front with a couple bolted to the bridge for good measure. But we're just going to have a muck around. I can't promise it's going to be pretty. I haven't used the ship builder much. I've kind of extended the Frontier, which is the ship you start with, and I've bolted more cargo to it and things, and all the little cool modules you get as you fly around. But I haven't really done a complete remodel. So that's how we're going to start. But yeah, lots of people talking about the clean the microwave after you take your food out. Do you know what? I never really much like Rule 34, unless I'm the next to use the microwave, in which case, absolutely sort the microwave out. So unfortunately, the supermarket were out of my favourite cider today. So we're going to slum it. The stream absolutely not sponsored by Strongbow. So I'm just going to chug one or two of these. Would be honoured if you join me. It's fine if you can. But yeah. Let's get started. Chin chin. Right. So, Notorious reckons, let's check in on some SC news first, then move on to some big, beautiful warships. That's, do you know what? If I'd thought about it, I would have put that in my stream title for gigs, and it'd been instantly demonetized, no doubt, but we would have given that a go. So, I'm about to change you over here, and we'll have a look at a couple of the bits and pieces that we found, just in terms of the roadmap roundup, a little bit from the monthly report. I've also got the Squadron 42 update from a few days ago, but that was emailed out, so we get that not everyone has seen that yet. Matthew says, if you like fizzy drinks, Drinkmate is amazing, a better version of SodaStream, and saves a ton of money. Gotcha. Yeah, so to explain the title and to give a little bit of background on me and who I am, I joined the Royal Navy as a warfare officer back in 2002, 3 and a bit months after 9/11 happened. So I knew what I was getting into. I knew that the world was changing, and that we were going to be part of that. I was fully expecting all of that to happen. When we joined, I joined back in 2002. I left the Navy back in 2013. So I did just over 11 years. Joined as a midshipman, left as a lieutenant. And during that time, I served on minor war vessels, so a mine countermeasure vessel that had been repurposed to be in Northern Ireland. I've done work on frigates, mainly 23s, they're my background. And then I've worked on the landing platform dock, HMS Bulwark, which is an amphibious assault ship. And then I ended my career as the second navigator of Illustrious, which was the old style carriers, the ones with the ski ramps. So yeah, done a little bit. I've was in the Gulf about 6 weeks prior to the start of Gulf War II. But even if my ship had stayed, I wouldn't have, because I was still under training at that point. And when the ships went to war, they took all the training billets off. So the officers that weren't yet trained in complement, we were removed for other more important individuals, understandably. And that's no sort of environment to train in, because no one can give you the time. You need to know what you're doing in that. That's not the time to bring newbies along. So yes, I've done that. Spent a lot of time in the Mediterranean and out in the Gulf. I've done counter-piracy ops off of Somalia. Been in the Northern Arabian Gulf post-Gulf War as a trained officer, as a complement officer, they call it. I've done a Far East deployment. Basically, the only places I haven't really been with the Navy is Africa. Obviously, barring the North Coast, and we never got to stop at the North Coast of Africa, understandably. And I've not been to South America. But that's about it. Pretty much everywhere else I've been. So that's kind of cool. Matthew says, from being a civvy side, selling stuff as an engineer into the Navy, those ships engineers have horrible management. You are not kidding. Yeah. I don't want to specifically throw kind of shade at my my engineer counterparts. But yeah, it's challenging. So that's my kind of background. I spent a lot of time on the bridge. My job was an officer of the watch, then as a navigator. I started my career as a small ships navigator. That was a Northern Ireland job. And my job was to stand on the bridge. As you would imagine from the films, I did not steer the ship. There's a naval rating, a seaman who's in charge of that, or a leading hand. They actually hold the wheel. They keep the ship on course. I tell them what courses to do. I give them what they call conning orders. So I tell them what to set the engines to. I tell them what to do with the wheel, which way to steer, etc. So yeah, and then I do all the work on the chart, everything you've seen, making the dividers, walk across the chart, and all that sort of stuff. That was my bag. So that's my history. I've also done a number of kind of different roles within warfare, because you don't just drive the ship. You have what they call a secondary role. So I've been navigator. That was my job title, was small ships navs. I've been a signals communications officer. I have been a damage control officer, specialising in firefighting. I'm one of the Navy's, or was one of the Navy's advanced firefighters, damage control specialists, including stuff like chemical, biological, nuclear warfare. Yeah, so quite a varied history, and luckily a wealth of experience to draw on when it comes to things like warships and Starfield and Star Citizen and stuff. So that's kind of cool. Edison says, Air Force and Army are the same in a lot of cases. I take it you mean in response to Matthew's horrible management. Yeah, it's there's that sort of stuff. Yeah. Matthew says, giving advice to a Navy officer, they're like, what's the maintenance period for this? I'm like 12 months. The dude's like, well, they've lasted a lot longer, like 12 years. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just scoring back on. So yeah, so Edison's right on this one. So MBCD is what it used to be, nuclear, biological, chemical defense. It is now CBRN DC, which is chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear damage control. So MBCD or CBRN DC, as it is now. So CBRN DCO, which obviously nobody calls you to your face because that's just ridiculous. So my short nickname was Damage, or my job title. So it would be Damage, short telephone call, gangway, or whatever, when they made put out an announcement for you. Which I thought was the best and the coolest job title in the Royal Navy, until I found out that there was an engineer based in Abbey Wood in the centre of the UK, centre of England, with the job title Head of Shafting. So it turns out I had the second best job title in the Royal Navy, but never mind, yeah. So that's where we are. Yeah. Badgers, damage, nudges. That's worrying. Yeah, maybe not that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on the wages in the Navy depend on very much the level that you join at. You obviously have two levels. You have the level of a rating, or in the US, you know that as an enlisted man, and then you have the officers. For me, joining at that time, you didn't start on much, but every year your pay goes up, not just by inflation. You actually go up in levels. So you start off as a midshipman on no seniority. Then the second year you have, or your first year you have 1 year seniority, your pay goes up. And then you're promoted to a sub-lieutenant, and every year you're a sub-lieutenant, your pay goes up. Same with lieutenant, same with lieutenant commander, and so on and so on. So even staying at the same level, for lieutenants, for example, you had, I don't know if it's still the same now, 10 levels of pay. So you would go up over 10 years, not by inflation or anything like that. Inflation would be separate. That would actually be your pay scale jumping. And you could get to significant amounts of money as a lieutenant, as I did, which was comfortable. So Badgers needs to call his Perseus Damage. I have a name in mind for the Perseus. which I'm not going to let slip until it's out, because someone will be nasty and nick it first, because my package for the purchase doesn't allow me to reserve names. I don't know if anyone's does, but someone's going to beat me to it, because, yeah. So, let's have a look then at some of the news kicking about. And we'll start up with the roadmap roundup and the changes from the beginning of this month. The big news here is the upcoming 3.21 that's already in the PTU at the minute, that seems to have skipped Evocati altogether, has got some really big changes on it. And this is a new, they call it a testing channel. It's basically a new test environment alongside PTU that allows them to do big back-end stuff that will hopefully stop what happened with 3.18 happening again. I still think things like that are going to fall through the cracks. But, you know, at least they're doing something about it. And this is them peeling the replication layer out of the dedicated game servers to be its own standalone thing, which is one of the next big milestones for server meshing. So, what's coming next is a lot more for the game, it seems. We've got Crusader platforms, we've got new missions, both lawful and illegal. And we've got the A1 coming first. And then after that, we seem to have an awful lot around the vehicle tractor beams. We then see it's also got, again, another note. Over the course of the 3.2.1 patch cycle, the replication layer will be moved off of the dedicated game servers and set up as its own standalone service. In the short term, this allows for greater server recovery. This is also a critical next step towards server meshing. So I've heard people say, I think it's been said by info runners, that this will be the end to the 30Ks. That is not the case. It will allow you to recover, but 30K is losing the connection to the game servers, and there is nothing that CIG can do about losing that connection other than to fix a few of the problems. But if you lose signal, that's a 30K. If your ISP, like mine does on a regular basis, craps out for a while, that's a 30K. And so on and so forth. So 30Ks aren't going away, contrary to popular belief. They'll hopefully just be minimised, and it will be far better, far easier, more likely to get back in the game and be where you were, as opposed to now it happening about 50% of the time. So, yeah. You know, we've got a lot around vehicle tractor beams. That's why the C1 seemingly is coming behind the A1, because the C1 will have its own tractor beam. You've got the Argo SRV, which is, you know, quite a big towy bit of kit. It's effectively a space tug. So, yeah, there's lots happening here. The really interesting question, of course, is why did it skip Evocati? And why is it coming straight to the game? You know, I don't think it takes a genius to guess CitizenCon. Because CitizenCon is what now? Less than 2 weeks away. At this time in 2 weeks, we will be mid-second day presentations, and seeing where we go from there. But yeah, so that's going to be interesting. Whether this means something. But I think if you look at this, it probably means that we're not going to get Pyro immediately at CitizenCon, based solely on what it says here about the replication layer update, because this is over the course of the 3.2.1 patch cycle. So unless someone wants to try and make the argument that 3.22, you know, 3.21 will happen and then we'll get 3.22 by CitizenCon, which is obviously not going to happen. I think it'll be a case of, hey, we want this by the end of the year, much the same as they did with PES, but I wouldn't expect it at CitizenCon. They'll demo the tech, I am sure. They'll demo what going through the jump gate looks like since we last saw it in 2019, but I really don't think we're going to see, you know, it's not going to be an announcement of, hey, it's just come to the servers. If it is, I will be shocked, and more than happy to eat an on-air attraction, but I genuinely don't think it. And as we say here, once we feel the replication is reliable, we'll migrate it over to the live servers in a 3.21x patch. So it sounds like, you know, it's going to be at the back end of all this stuff. And I don't think that's much a surprise. Matthew, you say about the Apollo. I'm literally just about. I've got the video loaded up, ready to go. At the Apollo. So we'll have a look at that, mate, in fairly short order, if you're happy with that. Sorry, I'm just trying to. One of the problems I've got is to have the text on screen big enough that I can actually read what you guys are saying. I've got to manipulate it up here. So sorry about that. Yeah, we'll come to the Apollo in a little while. So yeah, not masses there, but you know, it's at least there's a little bit more game content. It's the big read for me. I really do want to go and play on those Horizon platforms again, with smaller missions, maybe not the absolute rush fest that Siege of Horizon. Oh my god, I need more sleep. Siege of Horizon. Do you know what? Like that was one sip, wasn't it, earlier? Oops. That was a series of gulps. But yes, so the Siege of Horizon stuff, those platforms, I want to go and do minor missions on myself or with a small group, as opposed to just the absolute rush fest that they've been before. There's not much in here really, other than some really pretty looking locations. For me, as a takeaway, you know, once again, we're getting kind of teased about other vehicles that aren't yet, or ships that aren't yet ready to go, and are unannounced. What's really interesting here, I think, is that we're looking at, when they mention Pyro, they talk about finalizing all the time like this. Ensuring all essential sound effects are implemented, finished tasks, actively working on the audio and thruster component system, which isn't Pyro. So, yeah. And for anyone that wants to know, Walla, I looked it up just before coming on stream. That is recordings of group sounds. So, like, the general hubbub you'd have from a crowd walking through town, or like walking in a stadium or any other crowded place. It's that background noise that makes it feel populated and like loads of people are around. So that's what Walla is. Or Walla, however you say that. Interesting to still see that at the 11th hour there are still CitizenCon tickets on sale. I'd be interested to know how many people go and how big that is. Unfortunately, even at this range, CIG, there's no start time, there's no end time to either day. There's no itinerary. And if anyone's seen anything, if anyone's going or knows someone that's going and they've been told, but I've asked in a couple of Discord and Reddit groups and no one seems to know. I just keep getting the date told at me, which is great when it's 2 weeks away. But, you know, it's awful for us to plan because I'm running out of time to speak to you guys before it happens. We've effectively got one more live stream. If I want to put it on any videos, I can't have a start time yet. And there's only so many videos you can put out over 2 weeks to invite people to come along. So come on, CIG, for the love of God, right? We are 2 weeks away. You must know by now. Tell people what's going on. On that note, if you are wondering what you're going to do for CitizenCon and stuff like that, come give us a shout. We'd love to have you on the stream. I'm going to muck around with some bingo stuff. So even if I've got to record it, even if I'm going to write it down and hold it up, we're going to do some bingo. Crazy things, urban legends, things they say or like to say when it happens. We're going to have a little drink when that happens. Whether you do soft drink or alcohol, that's entirely up to you. We're just going to take a drink when they say silly things, and play some Star Citizen drinking word bingo. and see where we go. And then I'll be online whichever time they start, and they start on Twitch. I'll be online half an hour beforehand, to warm us up, get us all ready to go there, and then once it's all done, it'd be lovely to see you guys in Discord. What I will say though, the promise is this: I'm not going to be pausing the stream. There will be minimal, if any, interruptions, at me saying anything outside the stream other than sitting in the bottom corner, smiling at you guys and giving a couple of kind of thumbs up or thumbs down or nods or whatever else when I feel like I need to do that. But we won't talk until the gaps between presentations so that we can all watch it together, because as those that watch Info Runners know, when we live stream on a Thursday and react to ISC, I hate nothing more than people constantly pausing when you're just trying to find out the next piece of information. Hate it. But there we go. So it'd be lovely to see you guys there. Back then to the PU update, and there wasn't anything really in here massively that stood out. It's all very basic, I think. The bit that's kind of wound me up over the last week was hearing from a couple of people they are having problems with the hull C. That it doesn't seem to be implemented in the right way, that sometimes it doesn't seem to unload cargo, or it bugs out with the MFDs or whatever it is. And I feel like, I'll be the first to step in and defend CIG. I'm the first to back them up because of stuff in build. I'm the first to try and manage expectations and, say, well, hang on, CIG didn't say that. That's not what they promised. People built that up themselves, and that happens a lot. But having said that, I do feel like when a new ship comes in, it should work. And it shouldn't be a mess. And it shouldn't be it shouldn't be buggy and not do what it's intended to do and just not work. I understand if 2 or 3 patches down the line it breaks, because that's always going to happen when they're adding new stuff. But the whole it'll be ready when it's ready and we're not releasing it till it's ready that they talk about with Squadron 42 loses its value when they seem to be kicking things out in the PU that just don't work. And I don't believe that problem with the hull C is because more people are using it, although lag may be a factor. I think we could be a little bit more discerning in saying this isn't on. Constructively, we get stuff that's going to break. But if you're going to put it in right and make it work and let people actually use it and not have to find workarounds for a ship that has literally just been released into the game. That's not on. It's not, it makes everything a constant uphill battle. Not only are we having to worry about the stuff that's already in the game breaking, as it will do as they release new systems, we're also worrying whether the new stuff that they put in is even fit for purpose. And I've kind of had this epiphany, I guess, although it isn't really an epiphany, it's just a reasonable expectation as a consumer. Going and playing games that aren't Star Citizen for a while. It's great playing Star Citizen. I love it when I do it. I think going back to other stuff that's already at retail and already considered released and all that sort of stuff, it's not acceptable to release stuff there that's broken, and people will very rapidly, a la Cyberpunk, point out when it's not working, a la No Man's Sky and everything else that's been released broken. But it's not even helping CIG out. They released the whole C and it's not in a state that it's working. How can they claim that's testing it? It's already broken. So all you're doing is confirming what you already knew, which is it's broken. Release it as complete as you can, and then let us break it in other ways. But the fact that it doesn't do its main thing, which is sell the cargo which is on it for some people, what's the point of a cargo ship if you can't sell your cargo? Anyway, rant off. I'm good. Let's go and have a look at the grey box stuff. So I'm going to kill the sound for a little while here, and let's just have a very quick look. Good looking ship. It's got a little bit of the Star Trek kind of runabout feel to it with the nacelles out, although it's actually deceptively, I think, because obviously this is white box phase, so the lack of detail makes it look smaller. Because actually, when you start to look inside, it's a sizable ship. But it does look a little bit like a runabout here, but it looks really good. And it's kind of nice to see from this, at least, that, you know, this early stage, that they seem to have learned their lessons. RSI with all the struts. Please fix the commie. But yeah, I mean, that's quite a sizable ship, right? So Matthew, what did you want to know? I genuinely thought that it would have been reworked entirely since it didn't have docking or a ground vehicle. Does it now have docking? That's not a great call. Because they said, didn't they, that top-down docking is not going to happen anymore because AI is not going to be able to figure that out. Interesting. I mean, the ground vehicle side of it, that, you know, it's the drones that are going to fix that. So the drones are going to go and do a lot of the moving around for the crew. The crew, it looks like, it's going to be primarily medical. The drones will bring casualties in to the ship, and whether they dock them through normally or whatever, but it'll be the drones that go out and recover. And this is kind of part of like the search and rescue for almost downed pilots. You know, you've got someone that ejects into space, you're floating there in your EVA suit, you're like, well, I'm just going to wait here for a while, see what happens. And then one of these drones things comes, recovers you to a stretcher and takes you, you know, takes you back to the medical ship. That seems to be the plan. So yeah, the docking's going to be problematic. You know, this was certainly designed at a point when docking, vertical docking, was still going to be a thing, but they seem to have been that because I think they're worried about how AI are going to transition from, you know, what happens if you dock with the side of a constellation. So you've got the Apollo side on, the constellation flat. Is like, how does the AI go down and not just fall, you know, fall out of the docking tube flat on their face? And I think that rather than spend a lot of time figuring out a very complicated problem, I think they're just going to calm that, which is great because hopefully that means that the docking collar in the roof of the crew quarters of the constellation will go away. I've never liked not having an airlock between someone and space, especially not in crew quarters where accidents can happen. So yeah, I think that's a kind of cool thing. Other than that, the new Santoki Eye looking gorgeous. The skin helping a lot with that, but yeah, it looks really nice. And then the cockpit has just nailed it, I think. The two floaty orb things, whether they're effectively your dual sticks, and then all the lettering and just the metallic look of the console. Yeah, they've done a really good job with this. A really, really good job. They're gonna have to go back and do the Cartoal again, but yeah, that they continue to turn out the best looking ships I've seen. They're gorgeous. That's absolutely pretty. Well done, CIG. You kind of nailed it there. I'd just be really interested to see how you interact with those in the cockpit, whether you have hands on them and do that sort of stuff, and push down and then pull up and whatever else it is. Yeah, be interesting to see how that works. What else have they had? They've had a little bit on the whole. So for down here, they've had a little bit on the trespass system. So that seems to be working fairly well. They've had a little bit of the logo stuff happening. What's this? Oh, and dual stick support for salvage. So basically now what you're going to be able to do is change both of these. So in effect, one of them could be a tractor beam. You could use a tractor beam on one side to pull stuff in whilst already salvage parts of it with the other side. But yeah, for those with dual sticks, lots of fun to be had here. Enduring a very blocky hull C shape. Just, it's rude. And I guess that's why they blocked that out there. Yeah. And then the last bit, the Hawk. This is quite interesting because they're transitioning here to pods, whereas at the moment, the Hawk can actually be used to transport two people. You can put someone in the bounty pod, pull them in. You can basically sit in it. Now it's going to be these bounty pods that connect to this lift system. It'll be interesting to see just how accurate you need to be with placing it and lining it all up, and whether this is good for fixing stuff. But yeah, it's pretty and not a bad fix. The X1 looks pretty nice, like that. And obviously there's a lot more detailing and stuff to come, but it's looking good as it is. And then right at the end, they've got the cargo stuff. So this is demonstrating adding stuff to the cargo grid of different sizes. So we've got the 1 SCU boxes, we've got the 30U SCU boxes, and it's basically a smart grid that figures out how you can mix those and match them. So you can stack small crates on top of big crates on top of small crates, and so on and so forth. It will find the space, and also let you know when you can't, which is kind of cool. Yeah, they seem to be making some good progress, and that looks pretty good. There's also in here somewhere, I think, a really interesting part on, is it in here, on the components that they've been putting in, and the bays on the Freelancer. Here you go. So this is now the interior of the Freelancer, which is quite something. There you go. So that's the back section, that's the rear section. Stood on the ramp looking forward, space for all the components. And this is what they mean by gold pass. So with the gold standard is not that they're completed. The gold standard is that ship has been brought up to date with all the modern, with basically everything that's in the ship. So light switches, panels that enable you to lock and unlock doors, not just stand at the back of the ship and magically open a door. You walk up to a panel. It's all these little buttons. It's space for all the components. It's having storage. It's having the weapon rack flick out and being able to put stuff in. It's all of those things all together bring something up to gold standard, and then when they bring out a bunch of new stuff that goes into ships that doesn't have, that ship is no longer at gold standard. So that's just a quick explainer on where that is. Matthew, did that answer your question about the Apollo, buddy? I don't feel like I maybe answered that as well as I could have done. So hopefully that's your question answered, but let's see. I just want to let you answer that, mate, because I don't know how long it's going to take to get a response and stuff. Looking at the Squadron 42 update that came out in the news a little while ago, or sorry, came out by email a little while ago. What I want to say about this one, and the big point for me through this, is once again, nothing here sounds like things are being started. Or if they are, they're very, very small things. A lot of this now reads stuff being finished. Yeah. So it's stuff like bug fixing and improvements and enhancements and optimizations. Give you an example, I'll just pick anything, right? Resolve an issue, fix behavioral issues, providing animation support. Issues were also addressed, so fixed. And then, anywhere else, completed an air reporting panel that provide detailed information on behavioural issues. New functionality added. You know, as we go down, all of it sounds like it's close to being finished. And what's really interesting is they're starting to use the word final. So here, within narrative, it says they also continue to meet with the various level designers and leads to make final tweaks based on the latest level updates. Which, I don't know if they intended to put that in there in the form that it was in or not. But that certainly adds an awful lot of credence to the idea that we are coming close to some sort of completion with the game. I'm just going to make sure that I'm not missing you guys. Because nothing's been said in a while. Is it something I said, or is it, you know, let's have a quick, just going to put you back onto chat only. There we go. Yeah, so is it something I said? Oh, I think I've lost an awful lot of messages here, guys, so I do apologise. I'm going to go back and now answer, because the last message I saw, hey Yogurt, how's it doing, was a while ago, when Matthew said something about the vessel. So I'm going to catch up with you guys on chat now. I'm sorry that I haven't been responding, but literally the last thing I heard said was Matthew's question about the Apollo, and I was like, so yeah, yes, Matthew, I've got a laptop just up there. I'm gonna whip through. Kind of hope they buff the Apollo a little, or the Galaxy will smoke it. Yeah, I can kind of see where you're going with that. But I think the Apollo, you know, is going to be different for a bunch of different reasons. The Apollo uses drones, which is going to be key, because yes, the Galaxy has the shuttle bay for the CIGH or whatever, but the CIGH requires crew. It also requires manual recovery, whereas drones don't risk people; they just go off and do their stuff, right? So I think there's definitely a difference between those two. So he says, I don't like that he kept the interior from the Hull C when it was first built. The entire interior will need to be redone. Yeah, I know Morph wasn't very happy with the interior, and it doesn't look the best to me, I must admit. I think a lot more space is given to like the entryway than needs to be. I felt like it had just come into the ship rather than that ridiculous side passageway. But yeah, certainly. Mosravi says, honestly figure the C was done a while back and just left waiting for economy stuff. The price, while higher than expected, if they have an SCU tax, isn't ridiculous. Yeah, I think, you know, when you look at the prices of the Caterpillars and stuff like that, it's a big price increase, but it's no surprise when you look at the SCU capability of it. You know, it's got its drawbacks in that its cargo's on the outside, so it might be easier to pirate. But again, at that weight of cargo, that amount of cargo, that's an awful lot of time for a pirate fleet to be stopped next to it to get all the crates in and stuff. And that'll be a pirate fleet's weakness if that's what they're trying to do. Yeah. So yes, it's the same model from 2018. whether or not it's going to be modular. Yeah, I've seen a lot of chat about the kind of the hulls that were converted to be able to carry crated up ships and stuff like that. The ones that were converted as effectively Q ships or gunships and stuff. I don't know. I think there's a bit of a drive within the community at the minute to get every ship to do everything. Like, people looked at the outline of the Apollo and went, I want a combat version of that. And it's like, well, first of all, combat version of the Apollo is a bad idea, because what you don't want people to do is see the silhouette of a dedicated rescue craft and think threat. That's a bad call. You don't want to do that, because otherwise your rescue craft just gets shot out of the sky all the time. Also, you know, we don't need every ship to do everything. That's the whole point of having different ships. You know, otherwise every ship would just be modular. There'd be no dedicated anything. You know, I do think that the Apollo needs to outstrip the Galaxy in some way, because the Galaxy obviously can be a refinery, it can be cargo, it can do all that sort of stuff. But I feel like for its size and that, with jump points, I feel like it can manage that as it is. Put it this way, I've got a lot of interest in the Apollo Medivac, I think, which is the one with more guns, missiles. I think it's the Medivac. Not for the fighting. I like the idea of it going in behind a fleet and picking up all the down pilots. I've no interest in the Galaxy whatsoever, to the point where I didn't even pick up a CCU. So yeah. So sorry, I'm just catching up with a little bit. Matthew says, the drones, I have no idea how it'll work. There's no evidence of where the drones come into the med area either. Like, how will the drones handle getting people from bunkers, for example? So I don't think the drone's designed to do that far in ground. If you're going to do that, then I would expect something else, like an Apollo, a CAR, or like a military extraction. And the truth about military extractions is, you know, whatever you put them in is not as great as a dedicated ambulance. I mean, even the CSAR, Combat Search and Rescue Black Hawks, that the Americans used, they're still not ideal. There's very little space. There's very little space for equipment. You've got 4 guys tooled up to the nines, the parajumpers, pararescuemen. You know, it's not ideal to get people out of a threat environment. This is more for going and finding people in a high threat environment, either on the ground, but, you know, accessible from the air, or more likely in space, especially with the medevac, where people are getting, you know, ejecting and bailing out and all that sort of stuff, and then being recovered by the drones. So yeah. Docking may up being a difference between the triage and the medevac, maybe. That would certainly make sense. Yeah. I don't know if that's going to happen in reality. But yeah, certainly in theory. I think, going back to Matthew's point about the drones, what makes sense to me is the drone creates some sort of oxygen bubble, protective atmosphere, right? And by protective, I don't mean shields. I just mean that you can have a hole in your suit and not die, being in that bubble. And effectively, there's whatever it puts the person onto or it touches them to, is effectively in itself a trolley. So the drone comes down, detaches from the trolley, picks up another trolley, off it goes. And then that trolley, whether it be hover, on wheels, whatever it does, is then pushed into, and you either do the 1, 2, 3, move the casualty from the trolley to the bed, or even cooler, you have the bed mount, and the trolley actually forms the top of the bed. So you just go click, and it clicks in, and now it's your med bed. And everything else is already there, ready to go. The scanner that goes over top, all the surgical tools. You literally just slide the bed, like the mattress in it, as it were. Click, it's done. Now you've got your functioning med bed. That's how I would probably try and approach it if I was a game developer. Matthew says, I love the idea of a Star Trek beam me up Scotty for people who are down so they can be revived and then moved to a space station. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It would certainly solve a lot of problems. but I don't think they're going for that. Pop something into the Discord for you. Reference the Santoki. I shall have a look in a minute, buddy. Medevac and Triage are the same. One just has more armor. Yeah, the Medevac I think is designed to be. I think it's the Medevac. According to the name, is designed to go into higher risk areas. Certainly. Yeah. So. Edison says armor that's not in the game and a few missiles, but I still don't expect to see them anytime soon. I would second that. So they are. The Apollo is on the roadmap. Sorry, not the roadmap. The planner. What the teams are doing. And it says doing everything to that to implement it in game. But it says that a lot. It doesn't say that all the time. There's the bits about the concepting. But there have been plenty of ships where it has said that, and they have not been released at the end of that window. So I know it's due to end at the end of the year. I wouldn't hang my hat on that being when we see it. Because actually, if you need medical ships where you drag a casualty in or you go back to it, we have lots of those ships already. You've got the 600i, you've got the Carrack, the CAR, the Cutty Red. You've got plenty of medbeds kicking about, the 890 jump. You don't necessarily need to add another one yet. So yeah. But there. Monster Avy says, I don't expect anything anytime soon, but I admit I occasionally like getting surprised. Yeah, absolutely. Matthew says, it's more just when I pledge for it, it's the best medical ship. Now I feel like it's lacking. Might be a melt for me. Mate, you've got to go with what you feel, but of all the medical ships, the Apollo still stands out for me. Size, speed, the drones are a massive, massive plus. Sure, you might have to land and recover someone from a bunker, but you know, that for me is a CAR or a Cutty Red job. Although neither of those really appeal because I don't know if they've got the crew count to support that. There might be. I suppose you could argue that the Medevac is the ship that's supposed to do this, but a ship with a higher crew count, so you can actually send in dedicated operators to go rescue that person, and then go from there. But yeah, dropped a note, said hello, but how you doing, buddy? I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're keeping well. Shocker17 says, I think this is 1 year we get a 42 release date and an advertising campaign. Shocker, I think that's very, very possible. And what's won me round more than anything else now. So I was a little bit, okay, 2 days in CitizenCon, 1 day for Star Citizen, 1 day for Squadron 42. And then I kind of ditched that idea. The idea that it was in Los Angeles, and we haven't had that yet. And for having all the stars attend a red carpet event, that for me was a bit like, okay, that too sounds like they're going this way. But something that stuck in my head since he said it is Chris Roberts said, traditional, when he binned the video updates that they were doing, we got the Asiado Station 1, which was the first and the last, because they binned it and said we didn't want to spoil anything. What he said was, or something that he said in that, was that traditional games you get 6 months warning, and then they're coming out. And actually, he didn't want to spoil stuff and all that sort of stuff. But that to me spoke of when we go live and we get, hey, Squadron 42's coming, it might be about 6 months out to allow everyone else to adapt to. From Squadron 42 and Star Citizen is this massive vaporware game that no one's ever going to watch or ever going to get to play, to, oh my god, actually it is coming. It wasn't lies, it wasn't a scam. They are actually working on this game, and now it's coming, and it will give them the time to do a little bit of that marketing that we see for Star Citizen, but is absolutely completely absent for Squadron 42 at the moment. And when you think about who's in it, that massive cast, that is certainly something that they can roll out and you know really get people's attention on, because the cast in Squadron 42, I think we can all agree, is better than most films, big budget movies, big series. I can't think of anything really that matches it. Edison, sleep well, buddy. Take it easy at work tomorrow. Speak to you soon, my friend. Matthew says, on the point of Squadron 42, they have all the teams working on the CitizenCon event. This will be quite exceptional that everyone is committed to CitizenCon. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's 100%. Because, of course, yes, they'll have teams working on tech demos and stuff, but the guys working on, you know, the narrative team may well be working on it if they're going to tell some sort of narrative story. And they'll get one or two people from each team, like the Tony Zurovic economy chat. But I don't think necessarily that everyone's working on CitizenCon. I think a lot of the teams are still going to be working. And actually, it's more likely to be more disruptive to the PU, because looking at previous CitizenCons, if we don't get anything about Squadron 42, there's no reason for them to be working on CitizenCon, because it's all the PU guys that'll be showing off what they're doing in the PU. Because the Squadron 42 guys will be like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've been working on scenes with Gary Oldman. I've got no idea what the hell is Xeno Threat. So yeah, I think, you know, we'll see. I'm tempted to do a video. Do you know what? It's probably a good time to talk about it. Then we'll take a very, very short interlude, and then we'll go build some starships. But part of what I wanted to talk about people's videos is expectations for CitizenCon. Now, I watched Morphologist's video today about the big milestone that is coming. The problem is, just before CitizenCon, we've got no confirmation. What we have is information pointing towards it, but this has happened before about other things, and nothing's come of it. So, you know, you've also got a game developer who's actively at times spoofed people. So, you know, we've had ships put into the code that were never coming. And people would have sworn they were because they were in leaks and everything else. People need to temper their expectations for CitizenCon. There's no indication we're getting pyro. There's no indication that we are getting server meshing. There's no indication that we're going to be able to jump this year to another system. None of that has yet been promised, or even been, you know, properly talked about like that. For us to then, you know, jump on it and build up these expectations is damaging. Not only for us, because we get annoyed, hacked off that it's not happened, but also there are other people watching this who aren't anywhere near as clued up as you or I about what's going on and promises that's been made, what's been said, what's not been said. And they'll be thinking, well, for you, if they're one of the biggest YouTubers that constantly covers the game is saying that the big milestone's coming soon. Like, you and I know that soon does not mean the end of the year. To the rest of the gaming community, to those who do not follow Star Citizen, soon doesn't mean the same thing. Sorry, I'm just going to skip through whatever craziness is happening in the background. Does that make sense? I mean, tell me if I'm ranting here, but I do feel like we are sending the wrong message to people. You know, and I get that this is a YouTuber's job, right? Or this is content creator's job, is to seize on stuff, is to sound like you're ahead of the game, is to talk about what might be happening, is to spark that debate, all that sort of stuff. Get it 100%, because I'm in that game too. But there is also then the responsibility of content creators to self-police, to help police the content creator community. And I guess that's the role that I'm trying to play here. It's the role that I wanted to play with the whole PTU furor about all the waves changing. Is we've got to be a little bit realistic about it. This is not a game that is being developed traditionally. So other games do it. Great. Other games don't get crowdfunded $600 million and climbing. But yeah. So just looking at some comments then. Matthew says the truest statement I have ever read in my entire life. That is, let's be fair, nothing matters until we get the Perseus in game, and then all that matters is the Perseus. 100%, buddy. Yeah. Hey, Shadow Girl. No, mate, we are not. The good news is, I think everyone else has gone through daylight saving times, so you are stuck with me, my friend, for another hour. So yeah, if you've got an hour to spare, you are more than welcome. Good to see you again. Haven't seen you for a while. Hope you're doing well. Shocker says, you're right, but a release date could be 6 to 12 months out. Yeah, 100%, right? And this is the thing, is something in me tells me that there will be something in CitizenCon about Squadron 42. And more than just, yeah, it's coming. I think we might see something a little bit more. Having said that, I would not put any money or any reputation or anything on what that is. I think if it's a release date, you are absolutely 100% correct. 6 to 12 months out. It's not going to be it's on sale next week. Woo! Because that ain't happening. For a whole bunch of reasons. It doesn't make sense marketing-wise. It doesn't make sense for sales and all that sort of stuff. I tell you what, I do hope because I've been a little bit negative this stream, and I've always been honest with you guys. I've said that I will white knight when white knighting is required, but I will also be negative when negative is required, and I feel like that's where we are. Because cards on the table, I haven't played in a while. And that's because I know if I play, it's going to wind me up, and I will spend much longer not playing it. So it's easier now if I just leave it, keep an eye on the news and everything, so you and I can talk and do all that good stuff. I've got loads of footage and stuff from I had before, so I can put videos together. And as soon as we've got release times, I'm going to put one out, which will be another formal invite to come and watch CitizenCon with me. But on the upside, I'm really hoping that they do something special and physical as a collector's edition for Squadron 42. I'd be really interested to hear what you think that would be. If you were going to buy a physical edition, what would be in it? What would be, like, is it something from the game? Is it a model of a ship? Is it, I mean, obviously it's not going to be a functioning mobiGlas, right? But, you know, I feel like Starfield did really well with that smartwatch. That because it was an item in game, and throughout the entire game, in the bottom left-hand corner, you are looking at that smartwatch. So to wear it on your wrist is really, really cool. But let's see what we think. Okay, so Matthew said, "Oh God, daylight saving times will be brutal. I have to chat with the US a lot, or my meetings will be screwed." Yes, daylight saving times is an utter thing. Excuse me for stepping into the. I need to zoom in a little so I can read what you all have said. Here we go. There we go. Notorious says, as long as I have to listen to Paul Jones using his inside voice to talk about the BMM for 90 minutes, I'll be happy. So we put a special request in, and Paul said he'll do it just for you. We're going to strap you into a chair, Clockwork Orange style, and instead of pinning your ears open, we're just going to put 2 ear trumpets in right next to the speakers, and you know, cruel and unusual punishment and all that sort of stuff. Matthew says 100% when the Perseus comes in, we need an entire lobby of Persei. I'm sure Jerry can loan out a few. We need a multi-gun salute for something too. Absolutely. When I get my Perseus, because it was funded by the community on InfoRunners, I got funded. They crowdfunded me a Perseus. I don't know if I've told this story to you guys or whether you were there for it, but I was crowdfunded a Perseus. And typical Brit took it like an absolute dick because we don't like charity and we don't like getting stuff given to us for free. But then someone kind of pulled me aside and explained to me that some very, very nice people had clubbed together with very rare CCUs and stuff to be able to put this together for me. I was gobsmacked and humbled because I was having a rough time at work, and that's why the idea came from. So, yeah, the minute that happens, I don't know, maybe we'll run a competition. When we know it's coming, we'll run something so I can get some crew on the ship with me. And we'll fly. We'll get as many Perseus as we can, and we will go and take over a server and do stuff in Perseus. We'll go and do some extreme risk targets and that, and just go and hammer an Idris with 10 Persei. Sounds good to me. Shadow Girl says, and maybe an action figure. Yeah, I mean, what would you do though? Would it be who would it be? Would it be the old man? That sounds kind of the Mark Hamill. Would it be a Gary Oldman one? Would it be Gillian Anderson? Yeah, that's kind of cool. JRD models. Oh, okay. Yeah, the thing. I can buy those elsewhere though. I want something I just get in that box. I'm an absolutely. I'm a special edition. I don't want to say the word. WH0RE. I really am, like, for special editions and stuff. Whilst we're here, so I told a little bit of the story about me joining the Navy. And while we're here, I just got stuck down between a couple of bags here. I don't know how well this is going to show up on stream, but my naval officer sword. So this is a sword from Wilkinson Sword. It needs a polish, but I've lost the blade. But there you go. So there. So it's ceremonial. It's not something called shot tested, but I don't know if you can see there on the blade. It has all the detail. And the scabbard's over there, but the gold work on the scabbard is much like the gold of the hilt here, is it needs a damn good polish. Which is why it's out, because it's been getting brassoed and sorted out by me. I'm just going to restart some music. There we go. But yeah, kind of pretty and stuff. Yeah, Perseus Road sounds good. Once again, my chat has stopped playing on the laptop because I'm moving it around. Official UEE looking dog tag, says Shadow Gal. I like that idea. Ship model or diorama, says Notorious, preferably an Idris or a Polaris. Okay. Or those UEE Navy number ones. Do you know what? I could buy into that. It's because you're awesome, Badgers. Better to be humbled. You'll be the doctor. Sold. You can do that. Perseus Parade. Matthew says he'll be there. Pilgrim. It was a great stream meeting the Perseus. Thank you very much, mate. Glad you were there. Dude, that was quite the stream. And more emotional because, like I said, I'd gone there. I don't want to be bought anything, guys. And then they kind of went, whoa, whoa, whoa. Before you say something you regret, here's what's going on. And I was like, we're friends like these, sort of thing. So, yeah, that was kind of cool. Notorious will happy crew. F8C Lightning model. So, yeah, awesome. And then, yeah, so the sword bit, yeah, they've had to change it from ER, of course. But yeah, so the sword, there's a story behind the sword that I'm not going to tell you on stream. But, you know, maybe CitizenCon next year, if it comes to Manchester, catch me in person, I'll tell you the story. All right. But what's really interesting about these swords is, I'm hoping that it shows, is you can tell that this one is ceremonial and not for use in, I was about to say, unironically, real boarding actions. But basically, in the base here, you can see that that is flat, right? So what they used to do with these blades, so basically what that's saying, if I was to grab this blade and try and bend it, it's brittle. So it will get to a point where it will snap, okay? Real blades were tested, and it's called shot tested. And what they used to do was fire a musket ball at the base of the blade, because where it attached into the tang, this is where it's most brittle, right? It's most liable to snap if it's going to. So what you would see on a shot-tested blade, and you'll still see it to this day, although now some ornamental swords have it to make them look more realistic, is you would see a circle here, an actual indent where a musket ball would hit the blade. So they would shoot a musket at that. And if the blade obviously stayed intact, that blade was flexible enough to be to survive being swung with incredible force and then hitting another blade full pelt and not just break into pieces. So a little bit of Navy lore for you. Blades were shot tested back in the day in order to be deemed. And with those blades, you could tell because you grab the blade, push, and you could bend it almost back on itself. The blades were that flexible. Almost back on itself. Kind of not. But yeah. Banu Puzzle Boxer Shadow Girl. Yeah, I could see that. Maybe even something that lights up would be kind of cool. How about one that sits over a stand and does like the Hogwarts wand does in Hogwarts Legacy? So the box lights up and hovers over the top. I think that would be kind of cool. Shadow Girl says, I want to be bought a Polaris. Absolutely. A Pez dispenser for a Benny's vending machine or a money box. I want a big Benny's vending machine. Model. Okay, Sean, I'm glad you put model on the end of that. I was like an entire vending machine. Just like getting that in the house would be great. Yeah. Were 1908 boarding cutlasses shot tested? I'm guessing if you're asking, Shocker, that might be the exception to the rule. I guess. I don't know if cutlasses were, because they were such bigger pieces of metal and much heavier. I think they were more designed to do stuff by blunt force than something like that doesn't carry the weight. It's all dependent on how how resistant the metal was. Yeah. Sean says yes, he would also like the actual vending machine. Shadow Girl says if they made 100 real Benny's vending machines, they would sell out instantly, no matter the price. I mean, so what's really interesting there is, I'm sure there's somewhere at some scrap merchant you can buy old vending machines and then just do it up and put a big Benny's poster in the front of it, get it professionally printed, put it inside, light it up, and then try and flog it. I mean, there's a business idea for you. There's your side hustle, flogging Big Benny's stuff. Because there's no way, I mean, CIG are not going to go, don't do that, we want to do that in future. There's no way CIG are going to have a sideline in vending machines. So I think they'd be quite happy to let you, for a cut the profits. Yeah. Full-size Benny's, use it for pot noodles. Absolutely. 100%. Right, so I'm going to try to, if I can, I'm just going to pop something in chat and see if I can jump my chat to speak to you guys. Of course it would be an F, naturally, but my chat's woken up now. So what I'm going to do is very quickly, I'm going to transition you over to a little bit of Starfield, and we'll have some fun placing Some furniture? No, building some ships. So, I've just built my, I've just built a little bit of an outpost. And we're going to go from there. Oh, hot noodles. Just. So this is the frontier that I've adapted, and literally all I've done is I've popped some cargo pods on the side. I've extended it once, stuck some more landing gear on it, upgraded the engines, and there's a couple of little pods, modules on that you get throughout the missions that have just been kind of added. Let me know if you can hear the game all right, guys, and whether it's loud enough or too loud or whatever. And I'll go back and adjust it if needed. But yeah, so that's the frontier at the moment. There we go. So let's have a play now. You hear it? Good. Thanks, Shadowgate. View and modify. So, what I've done here is I've gone and have a look at a couple of ships. And I've nixed this Crimson Fleet Captain. I don't really want it. But what I have done is I've nicked a couple of bits and pieces here that I want to start with. So the first thing that I did is I went to, is it Deimos? I can't remember. Let's find out. Yeah, so it's Deimos. And got this bridge. Because lots of people, 8 crew stations on that thing. There's loads of seats up on the bridge. And then all I've done is I added that basically to connect it to the ship. I want to keep this. Everything else I'm going to get rid of, pretty much. I'm just going to rip the whole thing out and start again. So let's have a look and see if we can. I'm just going to go around and clean a bunch of stuff. Hopefully not the bridge, because, you know, I can't get that where I am. If that noise is annoying, let me know, but it's only going to last for me getting rid of this, right? So what I want to do, I think, is I'm going to build it from the bridge down, just because that seems easier. Got to get rid of all this stuff. There we go. So we got the bridge. Because this is the only bit that I need. It's just so much effort to make one from scratch. So girl, yeah, I've got a feeling I'm going to figure that out as we go along. You could likely end up in Apollo with that bridge. Yeah, there's a couple that kind of look like they should be on the front rather than up top. But what I actually want with this is I want this on the top looking down on the rest of the ship. So if you imagine the Perseus bridge, that's what I want to do with this. Yes, you are entirely correct. This is not going to be done by the end of the stream. But we can have a muck around and come back to it when we feel like it, when we don't have Star Citizen stuff to do. But yeah, it gives me a Crucible vibe, says Pilgrim. Yeah, absolutely. Matthew said, still not played it. Yeah, 100. So you want your bridge to be a bridge, not a cockpit. Yeah, so this is actually a bridge. So on the left-hand side, I'm pointing at my screen for God knows what reason. But we're an hour into the stream. I feel like I should have finished the can already. This is the Ares bridge as opposed to a cockpit. So yeah, this one's quite big. You actually come in. The difference with this is you actually come in from the back rather than coming up from a ladder into the cockpit, and that's what I wanted more with this one than a couple of the other larger bridges that I've seen. So yeah, quite nice. Whatever we are going to create, it's going to be an absolute monstrosity with the colours. That's fine. I can go back and fix that. So not worried about the colours so much. The trick is, I'll just scroll through. We have a lot of choice. Not only on the right-hand side do we have all these modules to play with. Right. What you're also seeing underneath them is a couple of options. So we have an all-in-one berth, for example, and if I start to scroll right, we have an armory, captain's quarters, computer core, control station, an infirmary, a living quarters, a science lab, and a workshop. Okay? And then some other things might give us more choices or less, depending on. We've got storerooms and all that sort of stuff. What I have found, and if you watched when I was actually playing the last time, is a lot of these big modules aren't great Inside, there's all sorts of walls and obstacles and mini passageways, even within one module. So there's plenty of stuff that we don't necessarily want to be getting involved in. But we'll have a muck around. So we've got a cargo hall there and a mess hall, for example, and you'll see what I mean about the colours in a second. But yeah, so we've got a little bit to play with. What I think we'll do is we'll stick some stuff on the back of the ship here. Now, when designing a ship, okay, on modern warships in modern day times, the captain's cabin is always close to the bridge, because although in combat he'll be in the ops room, or the CIC for our American brethren, the Combat Information Center. They'll fight from there in combat. Obviously, that's not a lot of the time, right? Even when you're training, the key thing is the captain wants to be able to get to the bridge quickly because of things like shipping situations, close quarter situations, maneuvering through ships, around ships, navigational hazards, that sort of stuff. So the captain needs to be close to the bridge. So that's what I want to do with this. Okay. Shadow Girl says, I recommend the workshop module, but yeah, when things get serious, you've got to be able to get the captain to his position quick. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to pop some stuff on. And the captain's cabin as well is about privacy. Obviously, some things that they talk about in there can be quite serious. So we don't necessarily want, people walking through the captain's quarters to get anywhere. So you want it kind of off where they're going. So what I was thinking, I don't know what you guys think, but what we want first off is we want one of these spaces. So if I grab it, okay, because what I'm thinking of here, and it might not be that one, we might try to do something that fixes better, but what we can do is we can have this point here be the ladder up into the module, okay, and then we can have the captain's space here, because there is no escape pod space like in the Perseus. So we have the captain's pod off here and then the bridge there. So I think we'll go with something like that. Possibly not this. Let's see what else we've got in terms of one by one. Stroud storeroom, storeroom. So that's a companionway, which is just like a movement. We've just got to figure out now, forget the colours, just from the shape of the hull, what looks good to connect the two of these. So let's have a muck around. Right. Okay, interesting. So I can add stuff that way, but I don't want to do that. Let's get rid of that. Let's see what else we've got. Okay. That's not what I want. What? You mainly stuck with that Stroud Eklund ramparts. Why was that, Shadigan? What was it that drew you to those bits? Was it the interior or was it the exterior shape? Like the exterior style more. Fair enough. So let's try this one. Feathers says they prefer Stroud to Smart Suits. Feathers, welcome to the stream. Good to see you, mate. Thank you very much for tuning in. So that's that one. So if we have a look then at Stroud Captain. So go captain's quarters there. This is going to be a big old bit of kit, this thing. Okay, now, it doesn't have to look like that all the time, right? First off, we'll fix the colours. There's loads of structural parts we can add as well. So if we go to structural, there's plenty of bits and pieces we can add. So you can add something like... You can add all sorts of spines and bits and pieces. So add something like that. Running across the back of it. Let's see if we've got... So we've got tails, we've got wings, we've got all sorts of stuff that we can add. Let's try that. Cool. Right, I'm just going to take a 2-minute step away. I'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away. We're going to muck around with this and hopefully get something resembling a ship before the end of the stream. Thank you much for indulging me. Don't go anywhere, chat. Exactly. Notorious says 5 manufacturers, 4 of them share the same interior in pairs, with one of the pair being lighter in theme and the other in darker. Cool. Well, I think at the moment I'm going to focus on the outside and then see if we can muck around. Yeah. Let's have a look. So, let's go for a Demos wing. What do we think? We in the right direction or not? What I don't like is, let's do this so I can actually see the part that we're looking at. Ooh, that looks good. Let's go with that. So, That kind of looks cool. Nova has the best armory. I shall bear that in mind, Feathers. Thank you for that. And the Demos wing. So we did that, didn't we? So we get that one, and then we flip it. Like that. Can I copy this way? Probably, but I'd save the cosmetic pieces for near the end. So they take away the spots you use for important components. Yeah, absolutely. What I just want to do at the minute is get something here that doesn't make it look quite as blocky as maybe it is. But you're entirely right. I don't want to muck around too much with the structure, mainly because it's not masses of use. But let's have a look. There we go. It's like an episode of ISC with this music. So you can do all sorts of bits and pieces. Just have a look at what looks cool, I guess. Something like that. I was kind of hoping it would sit on there. That would have been cool. Obviously not. Let's see what else we've got. Radiator top. That seems to be looking all right. And then there was something I saw. It was like a fin for the back. Demos tail. Something like that, maybe. Oh, sorry. Yes. I shall kill the music side of things. I do apologize. I completely forgot that that was happening. There we go. Let's do that. Besides, people might find it sacrilege that we're listening to Star Citizen music while playing Starfield. Okay, so we want to connect to this bit then here. Which I reckon we do with another. Let's have a look. So yeah, lots of cockpits here, no bridges. Let's go with halves again. So it's Stroud companionways. One of those. So what this is going to look obviously very blocky and weird. What needs to happen basically is this will then obviously be filled in with structural parts that will make this on ISC Starfield exactly, Shadow. Which will make it look solid, but it won't be. So we'll muck around with that in a little bit. And quite rightly, as Shadow Girl says, then I can muck around with all the other mounting points that we have here for various different bits and pieces. But we'll get the bare bones in, because what's really interesting about this is it won't let me save unless I actually have a functioning starship, which isn't helpful. So yeah. So one of the things that I do want to do is there's a mess hall, effectively, the 2x3 that I kind of want to put in, and there aren't that many 2x3s. See, everything seems to be elongated like that. But I do want to, when it comes to a mess hall, I do want to go the 2x3 Nova Galactic mess hall, which is that one, and obviously have the center parts connect with everything. But I don't like this having a space and then a ladder leading out of it, because that's not how it works on warships. You will obviously have some spaces where a ladder goes directly into the space, engine rooms and stuff like that. But generally speaking, accommodation, you'll come down into a lobby, so the ladder will come down into a lobby, and then you'll have a door into the mess rest space, which is what we call the mess square, which is their seating area with TV and everything else. And then you'll actually have the sleeping accommodation off somewhere, through another door. So you don't generally tend to have ladders going straight into spaces, and that allows us to compartmentalize stuff. You imagine if you're trying to fight a fire in a ship and you go down a ladder. First of all, going down a ladder into a fire is terrifying, as you can imagine. The first thing we do is we pour water down through the hatch, so it should cool the ladder off to the point where it's not going to buckle underneath you, and hopefully extinguishes anything burning directly below the ladder. You then have to go down facing the ladder, so you go backwards down into a space. Whether the ladder be like steps or whether it be a vertical ladder. Obviously it's vertical, you must face it just to be able to climb. But even if you could normally get down going back to the ladder facing forwards, when you're in firefighting kit, you've got a whopping great air bottle on your back, so you can't do that. So you have to go down facing the ladder, and it's terrifying because you can't see what's behind you. And obviously if you're going into a raging inferno, you've got your back to it, and as humans, you face the threat. You don't, you want to see what it is. You don't tend to walk towards the danger with your back to it. So you have that, and then by having everything off of that space, you get to the ladder, you get to the bottom, you're able to arrange yourself at the bottom of the ladder rather than standing straight onto carpet, which is going to be burning and everything else. You just go and stand on, basically like a non-burn, almost kind of like plastic flooring, and that's what you stand on. So that's a bunch of the reasons, just from damage control perspective. Not to mention, you don't want someone coming down the ladder straight into where you're watching TV, because it's disruptive. So there's also the quality of life argument as well. So let's have a look. What do we want to put under there for the next one? I reckon we do one more, right? I reckon we do another. Let's do another companionway. What do we say? Stroud again, didn't we? So let's do the Stroud companionway. Okay, and we're going to pop that under again. There we go. Okay, so now this will be the level that we connect to. Okay, and this here will be where everything connects. So that way then you're not making connections under this between spaces and having ladders where you don't want ladders. You could choose all the spaces you want, then put them together to get the shape you want. Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm thinking is, we then look at, on this level, put a mess hall back here, right? What we could even do, if we wanted, why don't we find a 2-in-1? So where's the Stroud 2-in-1s? We've got an all-in-one berth. So they've got passenger slots, so they've got berths in, right? So we don't want one of those necessarily. What I do want is some sort of 2-in-1 space that might just be a companionway. Have we got 2-in-1 companionways? That's all-in-one. Armory, Captain's Cabin, Computer Core, Control Station, Infirmary, Living Quarters, Science Lab, and Workshop. Oop. That does not help. Oh, so a berth is a bed, effectively. A berth is a space for a person. So a 2-berth cabin would be space for 2 people to sleep. So an all-in-one would be, in the theory of it, would have some living space, their bed, their showers and ablutions, all that sort of stuff. So that's the theory of that. Okay, so we got engineering base down here. So, in the normal one, in the Perseus, we kind of want to have more space in front, right? So why don't we grab that big mess hall that we were looking at? Okay. And pop that. There. Okay. So now we've got from the mess hall into the ladder, up to the bridge and the captain's cabin. And then aft we can put engineering. Hey, Del, long time no see, mate. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Let me know how you're keeping. Good to see you, my friend. We are in the middle of building some monstrosity Perseus-esque thing, right? So we're just kind of taking out the habs. It was Shocker's idea. Just get out the habs, space out what we want. And then we can muck around with what I was doing up here, which is all the extra stuff in a little while. Let's have a look. So, I don't think there are any 2-in-1. Port A, Port B, Port C. I don't. What's the difference? I don't understand. Great. I spent countless nights as a shipbuilder too. Love it. Yeah, absolutely. Napo Complex says, have you got enough friends to need such a big muscle badges? No, Napo, you are my only in real life friend. So thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, that was really nice of you. It's lovely to have you, mate. Good to see you. Napo Complex and I know each other in real life, obviously, which is why he gets away with being so gobby and doesn't get banned. Although I have been thinking about it for a while. Yeah, so let's go with the mess hall, and then what I kind of wanted to do. It's not a friendship, it's community service. Well, someone's got to look after you, mate. Let's have a look. We don't want these all-in-one bits and pieces because they're rubbish. So I reckon we go back towards the back of the ship now. So let's have a look at grav drives first. Da, da, da. Any thoughts on grav drives? Or am I just going to go for them? So I reckon the Gamma grav drive even. Ooh, interesting. So could that? Yes, it could. I mean, I kind of don't want to. I kind of want to put an engineering bay on the back here. So let's do that first. So let's go to Habs. Engineering bay bottom. Wow, that's a large engineering bay. I don't know if I want it that big. Does Stroud do one just to keep like the same design language? What does the control station do? I guess that's not engineering, right? There's just some big engineering base. I don't know if I want a 3-1. Does it need to be 3? Can we do a... community charity, because we know how much Badgers love charity. Yeah, or something, you know. Something like that. Okay, interesting. So I do have the Kepler. I do have the Kepler R, the really big one. But at the moment, I think I'm just going to go to change over now. Obviously, it's going to be a pain because it's going to want to do all sorts of nonsense. So, interesting. So, do we... Yeah, let's have a look. Okay. I think that'll work. So, we've got that bit. Let's go Habs then. So what do we want? We want an engineering bay. We've got that one. We got that one. Stroud doesn't seem to have an engineering bay. Or if it does, it's not something I can get at my... Okay, so that one hasn't got anything on the side. Those have. Let's grab that one. Up on the back. Okay, so there's our engineering bit. So we go from this, then what I'm thinking is if we put a couple of companionways here, and then off to each side, we can have accommodation moving forward. Yeah, the so I had to go to the Deimos shipyard to get that. Because it's not available here either. That's why it was on that lovely Crimson Fleet ship with the bridge ripped off and that bolted to the top of it. Because it was the only way I could manage it. But yeah, you know, done it. Okay. So, what I reckon on the back, what we want to do here now is go and grab a grav drive. So, I reckon we do that one. Let's pop that there. We want an engine. No, we don't. Not a minute. We want a reactor. That's what we want. So, that one. I guess. There we go. Well, if I've got to build out on the front of this, this is going to be huge, this thing. Oh my god, it's ridiculous. That's what she said. Let's have a look. So, bays. Yeah, we got all that sort of stuff to do as well. We've also got the docking area to consider. Engines, fuel tanks. Okay, so we go back to Habs for the time being. So we've got lots of space back here for engines and stuff. Let's move forward. So get rid of that for the moment. Okay. So we got lots of power to play with. $27 power? Is that what we wanted? Oh wait, did I grab the wrong one? I did, didn't I? Go. That's not the one I wanted. Get rid of that. That's the one I wanted. Yeah, I have a feeling this is a problem we're going to encounter in Star Citizen as well. It's going to be chasing around the universe after various ship components and whatnot. Yeah, so we got 34. So we got ridiculous levels of power. So that's good. Because we're going to need it with this thing, I think. And then... Yeah, it's not great. Engineering bay. Living quarters. Okay. So, we were doing Stroud companion bays on. So what I'm thinking first is we do that. And then we do it again. And then we do something like this. So if we're going to do Strouds all in one berth. Living quarters. What's the difference between berth and living quarters in this game? Anyone know? Because I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. You are just trying to upgrade it. You're entirely right. Never galactic all-in-one bath. Passenger slots 2. Let's just do the strap ones. So they're passenger slots. Interesting. They're not crew slots, they're passenger slots. I don't understand. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go with the mess hall for the living space. Just because. Let's go with all-in-one baths. So that's one. And then we'll do the same again. That works to me. And then I reckon, as we go down another level, like that. So that's the ladder up. You've got 2 sets of berths, one there, one there. You've got a walkway into the mess hall, a walkway into the engineering section. You've then got ladder up into the crew stations. Does that work? I think that works, right? Living quarters often has a galley and no bunks. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I kind of see what it's trying to get at now. In terms of rec space, I don't think we kind of need one. It's 4 meters too long for the vanilla builder. Is it? No. Where does it say that? 6 errors. Did it say too long? Oh, come on. Because it needs to be even longer than this. No. That's not cool. 88. I thought it was 96. Oh, is it? Ugh. God damn. What's the width then? What's the max width? You can get a mod for it. I think I'm going to have to. Notorious, if you could pop that in Discord, mate, that'd be great. For anyone that wants to be in Discord, isn't yet, Discord link in the description. So please come say hi. Be lovely to have you. Okay, so all right, I can fix this. Let's do that. All right, so what we do is we get rid of this bit. So delete. See, I kind of want to connect these, but I don't want those doors to be in place. Which obviously I have no control over, right? Which is a pain. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh. So I think we've nailed it there. Okay, alright, no, let's try this then. Let's get rid of that. Let's put engineering forward. It's not ideal, I don't like it. But let's get rid of that. Let's pop that one back there. And let's do that. Right? It's not ideal that you're going to go from engineering straight up. But I feel like that's more important than having this just being an absolute maze and circle of doorways. Because, you know, we've all been spoiled by Star Citizen, and I don't want it to be an absolute maze. I've seen the Gemini, I don't want it to be like that. Alright. So, let's move up to the next. Where I put my? That's where I put it. I was looking for the reload. It's important to have a reload. So there we go. Lovely jubbly. Right. I can imagine making the hammerhead and see that the hammerhead. I can kind of understand the hammerhead. I could get that as a. The problem would be the long sections going out to where the turrets are and stuff, because you'd have lots of doors, because you can't just have passageways in this. It doesn't have longer passageways. Everything's got to have something in it, according to Bethesda. So yeah, I don't want to attach stuff to this stuff. So that's that. I reckon we can possibly put some fuel tanks in here, maybe. Let's have a look. Where's the really big fuel tanks? Where did that go? There it is. Okay. Oh no, this is stuff we're gonna have to bolt onto the side. Boo. Oh, here we go. Grab jump fuel 70. That's not big enough. Well, that ain't gonna work. That's far too big. So, no to that. What's the chances I'm going to bankrupt myself doing this? Yeah, stairs. Exactly that. Some sort of ladder up would be great. I would absolutely go for that. Just some sort of walkway would be fine. Yeah. Wow. Some of that's really big. Holy moly. Okie dokie. So, back to the halves then. Right, so. Does that mean we need some sort of battle station? So we need an armory. We've got the captain's quarters. We got control stations. We need a control station, do we think? Is that what needs to go up the top? War Badger has bankrupted himself for this build. Signs point to yes. Yes, yes they do. Yeah, the Cabo Bridge. Yeah, it's got the stairs going up either side, isn't it? So it goes port and starboard and then goes forward. That's kind of cool. Control stations are 2x1 battle stations for smaller ships. Okie dokie. Does that mean we have a bigger battle stations? Is there a battle stations one in here? Is that a thing? Oh, there was a Stroud engineering bay. Okay, that one. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Stroud. Winning! I think the bridge can have battle stations, and you're using a large bridge, so I think that covers you. Yeah, I mean, there's like 8 crew stations on the bridge, so I think we'll be all right. Ooh. I said nothing. Literally. Okie dokie. So from here, then we want to do what? Because the problem is, I've kind of ruled out putting anything under any of this. Another Stroud companionway. then we start building from there, do you think? And then I've just got a lot of gaps to fill in. Am I just going blind? I feel like I've lost the 2x3. There's the 3x2. Where's the 2x3? Oh, I don't know anymore. Let's have a look. What else is in here? We got an armory. We've got a computer core. We've got a control station. Do we need a computer core? Is that something we need? What do you reckon? Infirmary. We do kind of want an infirmary, right? I know it's a Perseus, and a Perseus doesn't have one, but I do kind of want an infirmary. So where's the strap? Infirmary. Off the front, maybe. We still in size? 40 meters. Yeah, we are. Although I've got nothing on the front of the ship now. The workshop? Is that kind of crafting desks and stuff? Should it go? It is. Okay. Okay, looking at all the 3x1s now for something that is cryptic engineering bay, mess hall. Okay, so that's proper workshopping. That, wow, I don't even know what's going on there. No, city. Yeah. So we've got the workshop going aft from there. Got the infirmary on the other side. We've then got what? So that was which bit? Workshop. So we got the workshop, and then let's have an armory in there as well. And then what do we want on the back of the infirmary? Do we want another infirmary? Armory, captain's quarters, control station, living quarters, science lab. I have a science lab, that works. Let's pop a science lab. I hate that it clicks off what you've clicked on the minute you move off that selection. That's just right. And then we're going to another Stroud companionway in the middle of those two. And then I have a feeling somewhere in here. We'll go further aft. Is there anything else you want to add? I guess we just had a computer call, right? For the lols. Gotcha. What I do is mouse over the piece I want to connect to, and then, yeah, perfect. That works well. Awesome. Okay, so then we've got what? What we do need is a landing bay, don't we? So what sort of bay can we use? Something like that. Or not. Why don't we go click? Ugh. Blech. This is not what I want to be happening right now. This is just spazzing out massively. There, maybe, right? You want that at the front? Is that what we want? I mean, it's got the right shape there, right? We can have that up. I mean, not that I can add an... 41 meters. Go away. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. But we'll figure that out when we come to it. It's got a little bit of mass. It's got a little bit of mass. Isn't it just? Isn't it just? So... Caravel. So if we get rid of that, just come up here so I can actually see what I'm looking at. Because any of these are going to be even longer, aren't they? So it kind of needs to be the side. Okay, well, we can do that. I still think we can do that off the back of... I didn't mean to do that. Right, I'm going to do this the way Shadow Ghost told me. So you add this one, and then go G to connect. Oh. Ah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Nice. Yeah. So what happens if we do that? Wow, but go away. Don't want that. But I don't want that either. Right, so this is the computer core, which I don't... Let's try this instead. G. That, so you basically do that sort of a thing, do we think? Yeah, that is much better, thank you. Okay, that works. Right, now. Let's go for this. Gear. I got a feeling I'm going to need a lot of these, right? Or do we go for stuff that sits under? Lander thrust 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's a shame, because I kind of like that one. That was just gnarly. Okay, we'll come back to the problem of gear. I don't know what I want to do with that yet. Let's put some engines on, shall we? Okay, so don't like that. Yeah, me too. Nova engine looks good. Oh, that's not. That's one. Wow, is that all I need for engines? Apparently so. So why is my max crew 3? Because that's all I've got leadership for, right? I need to level up the leadership skill before we go and put the entirety of Constellation on this thing. But that's looking... I feel like we're doing alright. The trick is going to be getting off the deck, like you say. Maybe, because that's quite wide down there, right? But in that, right. Cargo might have to come later. Although some of this might work well in shaping the ship. So we'll come back to that. Bays we have at the moment. Check. Yep, we got one at the bottom. Weapons we'll come back to. Structural we'll come back to. Shields we'll come back to. Okay, I think we've got the core in, other than the gear, right? That's true. Although I do plan to kind of be building up and around there, so hopefully that won't be too much of a problem. So why don't we grab some of those? I know I keep doing this the wrong way, I'm just used to it the minute. I will sort that out. Ugh, they've got to be lower. Oh, hang on, I can do lower. We can do that. See? We're all good on this. Let's go that one. Hey, look at this. I think we're getting there. Match crew determined by things you put on the ship. You'll see the functional parts. Add those numbers together. That's crucial capacity. Yeah, so we've got that one. I think the other part with crew is that, because like when you look at max crew stations, like 8. So I've got 8 there. 9. 10. You know, I've even got more berths in here than I have stuff, so right now the game looks like it. The ship looks like it. That is the best game of Jenga I think I've ever played. But yes, you're right. You're entirely correct. That's exactly what it looks like. So let's have a look at the errors. What are the errors? Exceeds max length, width, or height. How are we back to 41 meters? Oh, it's the bit on the back, you monster. So what happens if we... Here. No, that's... God. Yeah. So that was the shear flow reactor. Okay. So what we're going to do now is on that, we're going to grab that reactor again. Jadigo, you're a lifesaver. That's moist. Right. There's that one. We are going to go G. Yeah. That one. Is that figured out that I want to go that way? No, it hasn't. Flip. Wait. No. Yeah. Good. And then hopefully it figures out that that's what I've just tried to do. Landing your port. No. Stop. Yeah, so, wow, we've gone a little bit over how long I'd intended on streaming. So I'm going to keep it going for about another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to call it quits. But I think, where are we? No fuel tanks, we need a docker. Landing bay needs to be connected to the cockpit. Is it not? Oh, okay. So what we're saying is... Okay, right. So that needs to go there, and then I need another companionway. Oh, I'm just adding weight. Just weight. There we go. So C. Perfect. We don't have any fuel tanks, but we can start popping that in there. I mean, you're committed now. You can't leave it half done. No, I need to get to the point where I've got a docker and a fuel tank, but I can just whack those on at any stage, right? And we'll be good. I've also got some room for something up front now, so I can try and put a point on this monstrosity. Yeah, if the Royal Navy invented starships, we'd all be doomed. This is just not good. Right. The other thing I wanted to do was there was another bit of gear. This is how it starts. Yeah. This is how it starts, man. I've always wanted that one there. So that'll go there. So I think we're alright for the minute. I think hull-wise we're doing okay. I like how we're looking. The HMS Jenga. The HMS WTF is that. Yeah, I think, you know, we need a fuel tank. And we need a docker. So the question is, where's the docker going? What side's it on the Perseus? Someone remind me? Starboard or port? I can't remember. Port side, isn't it? Someone have a look for me. I should know this, shouldn't I, being a Perseus? So let's see about popping it on, I don't know, there. Engineering? No. It should go there, right? Maybe it goes here. That's nice. I like that. Not a docker top, though. That one to port? Maybe it needs to stick out a bit more than that. Maybe it needs to go there. I'll take the risk with this bit. Right. Now, let's go fuel tanks. Let's see what we've got. What can I touch? I really like your idea because now it means that I can just see what's available without having to muck around. So that's one helium fuel tank. Okay, cool. I am 4 warnings. What? Warnings? Yes! We're down to warnings! Woohoo! So there's our fuel tanks in there. Oh God, you can just look up into it, look. I'll have to do something about that, aren't I? What if... that instead? It's not going to work, is it? Because it needs to be... It was all going so well. It was all going so well, but I'm going to have a think about that. And then make it more warship coloured. Everybody likes port. And if they don't like port, it's because they haven't tried it yet. Okie dokie. So I think we've reached a point at which I can go flight check. Yeah. Warnings. All items will be moved to the cargo hold. Confirm modification anyway, yes. It's even struggled with that. Yes, I can level up. There we go. We can have more stuff. So, let's go to Starship Design. Go to rank 3. So we've got that to play with next time, which will be fun. We can continue doing that. I also want to do a second episode. Let's pretend that episode 2 never happened. Chat-based adventures. So I want to do Squadron 42 in ChatGPT. It turns out I can train it. So I can give GPT parameters. I can give it characters from the lore. So we are going to have a go at that sometime soon. We'll probably start that after CitizenCon. And then what I will do, as well as the streams, I will make it into an adventure. You guys will vote in chat for what it is that you want to do when it gives us the options. The other great thing, I keep saying I get into a conversation with ChatGPT. That's not what I mean. But ChatGPT will allow us to do other things. So if we come up with something that isn't quite in the options, we can still tell it to do that. Okay, so we're going to have a go at that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that together, cut out a lot of the waiting for responses and, you know, all the jokes and stuff, a few of the jokes. and then I'm going to do an episodic Squadron 42 as provided by ChatGPT. And then if you are someone who says something particularly outstanding, you choose one of the options, or you become a bit of a character during the episode, you will feature in the beginning credits of said episode. I'll put your name up on the screen as whatever it is. For a really good example, in episode 1, one of our guys, I won't name them just yet, but we made a comment a couple times that they appear to have woken up and chosen violence. So in the credits, they will be the person who woke up and chose violence. And it's going to be very kind of 80s theme tuney. And then if it takes off and people start enjoying it and come and join in the streams and stuff, I'll look to start to animate some of that in Star Citizen. Because I think basic bits like us running around stations and stuff like that, we can absolutely achieve in the game. And if you want to come along and help with that, that'll be great. So yeah, Del, we did if you look back, one of the live streams is a chat-based adventure with ChatGPT. Do the first one. There's lots of combat. It's a very good storyline. We take on a criminal organization called the Syndicate. We answer a distress call to a station, come across the Syndicate, figure out who they are, what they're up to, confront them, we go and attack them. But it's ChatGPT will learn. And in the context of that conversation, I could basically give it everything from the wiki, and it will take that into account when it tells the story. So yeah, yes, mate. If you look back through the live streams, you'll see the first one that mentions Squadron 42, the text-based adventure. But I basically asked ChatGPT if it knew what it was. It said it did. So I said, "Can I play it as a text-based adventure, please?" And it let us. So go and have a look at that, mate. It was really good. But yeah. Let's have a look at them. Shocker says dibs on red shirt number 1. Yeah, it was very cool. If Squadron 42 someone comes at the CitizenCon, I'll do it anyway just to be difficult. But yes, and again, CitizenCon would love to have you guys come and join. Gonna do a hangout in Discord afterwards. Might have to moderate it a little bit so everyone gets to chat, but see what people think. All that sort of stuff. It would be really good. Bring a few drinks, not too many, just a few, and we'll enjoy it together. But yeah, it'll be really good to see you all. And let's do that. It'll be good fun. All right. Would love to see you all there. Thank you very much for joining in today. It's been good. Take care over the coming week, and I will see you same time, same place next week. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.